Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com. Do one more video today if timing works out. To talk about the new. You could say it is sort of long awaited, just long gapped hiatus, breakup, reunion album of sorts from the Norwegian. Call them indie, call them college, call them alternative, call them progressive, call them art pop. Art pop might be the best way to put it. Art pop rock band Team Me. It's an unusual name, but it's stuck, you know. So just to show a little bit of background, I'm saying this is long awaited because their last record came out in 2014, Blind as Night, and here's the vinyl. It was a really good record. It finished in my top 10 records. I think it was like number 9 or number 10 in 2014. It might even be higher now. I don't know. And it has a few really good, just memorable banger tracks like F is for Faker. The opening cut, you know, I should open. I have shown this. I showed this, you know, many years ago when I was in my storage space, riding my bicycle, kick and curse. I mean, it's a really good. It's a good record, and you know, I don't know, they're consistent. But anyway, their previous record, their debut album, came out in 2011. I made a video. That video I showed years ago. I said this is 2012. 2011, titled "To the Treetops." Yeah, riding my bicycle. Why would riding my bicycle be on that? That's weird. That's weird. I didn't even realize that. They actually put riding my bicycle down. Anyway, I should know this better, but I don't. But this one I loved a lot too, although I didn't like it as much initially, but I've grown to like it. It reminds me of what happened with the Foles debut album, Antidotes, where it came out. I listened to it, liked parts of it. It sounded... I was not taking it seriously enough, but then it just grew on me over time as I became more into the band. I think I got into this more when this one came out in 2014, but after 2014, they kind of just, I don't know if they officially broke up. They might have broken up, mentioned they were going on hiatus, something like that. It was a number of years where you didn't see stuff from them on like their Facebook page, or maybe you did, but it was just, they weren't talking about it, you know. I don't know if it was just members weren't sure that the band was working out financially or they had other options, but they never really fully ended. And then I know they kind of just started playing live again. It was like 2019 or 2020, one of those. Well, 2020 was when COVID happened, so that it was like 2019. I think they did some live shows. So I should mention, just because they're a pretty unknown band, they are a lot like Mew. I talked about them on the All Media Reviews blog. They feature, I don't think they call them falsetto vocals, higher pitched vocals, and layered gang vocals with really memorable poppy hooks at points. Kind of like the Polyphonic Spree and Mew at points, or Cloud Cult. There's a lot of bands that kind of remind me of, but at the same time they still have some of their own sound, and a lot of their own sound actually. And the songwriting just, it's definitely a case of a band that I didn't expect to like nearly as much as I have, and just have grown to like more and more. So hold on. So yeah, I mean, it's textured, you know, guitar oriented. Anyway, so their new album, the first album since 2014's Blind as Night, I just ordered a physical copy on compact disc. I don't know if vinyl's going to come up, but it's on the streaming networks, on streaming service, on Spotify. It's called Something in the Making, and well, there's a lot that can be said about this, and I'm still taking in the honest truth. I'm still taking it into a point, but I've listened to it like 4 or 5 times now. Some of these songs, they had done videos. That's the thing I was going to mention. Over the course of COVID, they released at least 2 or 3 songs on this album in video form. Into the Wild was one of them. Into the Wild, that song reminds me a lot, the sort of acoustic arrangement of some of the more recent Anathema albums or music. There's one other song that kind of has that too, but just getting into it, this album is 13 tracks and it's 1 hour, so it's quite a long album. I think it's probably their longest album, and it's not to say that it's not their best album. At this point, I don't feel like it's, you know, worse or better than either of these two records, but at the same time, I could see it in a way, potentially being that way. I'm not sure. I say that because there's definitely a lot of songs that have the gang vocals and have some hooks, but I don't think at this point I've found that they're quite as strong as some of the best stuff on both these records, but they're close. I mean, but at the same time, it seems like this record flows a little better, maybe, or at least it seems like it's the classic cliche. It's better than the sum of its parts, and I'm enjoying listening to it as a whole. Although, having said that, I think the last song and a half, the third track, 12 and 13, should have been Somebody by Now and Lost My Train of Thought. Well, I don't hate those songs. They kind of they don't the flow, and I don't think of the record this much at this point as much for those two songs as some of the other stuff on it. Others, I mean, they're still good, but I mean, if I'm choosing favorites, the third track, Circus Malcolm, is quite good. It's quite textured. This album is more trippy, psychedelic, dreamy, although that's sort of hard to say. It's a lot of that. The production is probably a step up in some ways. You have that song, Every Little Dream. You have Every Little Dream and Every Little Dream Reprise, which I like both of them. The Reprise has a very cool instrumental in it. Guitar, like a guitar solo. It's very fuzzy. You know, there's a lot of still moments of hooks, like strong hooks, gang vocals, where the lead singer, I forget his name, the lead singer's, you know, I think they just double and I don't know if it's gang vocals exactly or just multi-tracked. Let me even get the band information because I'm trying to rely on the internet up here. It's multi-tracked. Choir. Anders, Magnus. No, I mean, here it is. Here's the team. I can't even read the writing on this. This is on the debut album. I don't know if all the same members are, but they're all Norwegian names, so you know, not typical. Marius. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I song for a drummer, catchy, energetic. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Green Crystal Rain on a Star has a very catchy, repeated earworm. Green crystal rain on a star, da 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 da. You know, they repeat that many times. High Street is very kind of trippy and happy. That's kind of the best way to describe their music in a lot of ways. It's like happy, dreamy, happy, poppy, energetic, happy. You know, I mean, it's so I suppose in a way their whole overall sound isn't that different. It's slightly different, and I felt like between these two records, from here to here, it was slightly different too. I mean, it was maybe a little more dramatic, but I don't know, I guess it's naturally more similar to this album than anything else. But like I said, I'm hearing elements of like bands like Anathema and Foals and some others. You know, Into the Wild, there's a video for that. That's the one that has the acoustic part at the beginning, or most of it. Every Little Dream, High Street. You know, there should be more to it. I guess, you know what I will probably do, because I'm still taking it and I'm guilty of that. But, you know, it's just been sitting on it. I haven't, like, written my notes down. Is that when I do, like, a mid-season list, I'll probably have a little more detail to add to it. But, yeah, it might be a concept album. There's definitely some lyrics about it that kind of describe some of the present situation. Oh, that was the other thing I was going to mention. I can't remember what track it is. There's a couple tracks that they added some samples, sound clips. So I suppose if they did bring in one specific thing on something in the making, it was that, at least. You know, is it an Album of the Year candidate? You know, I would say maybe, but at the same time, I don't, you know, again, what I love about Team Me are the sort of go-to memorable hooks that generally stand out in isolation. And this is, I mean, it reminds me of this record in some ways from Mew when this came out. I remember feeling like, while there aren't like the classic favorite Mew tracks, other than like one song on this record, Life Isn't Easy. Sometimes Life Isn't Easy. I think that might have been and maybe Introducing Palace Players. It just sort of works more. It's almost like a suite. It works really well as a whole. I felt like this was. Now, ultimately, I kind of lean toward And the Glass-Handed Kites and Frengers a little bit. But it's like their best record in a way. And this record could be a album of the year contender because it's strong from beginning to almost the end. I mean, it's an hour long. Like I said, the last two tracks I like, but lost my train of thought talking about something 3, level 3 or something like that. It's kind of a ballad, so it's a come down. I don't know. And if there's a concept to this, which I think there might be, I did order the compact disc. It's from Europe. Got it on eBay. Hopefully it'll be coming in the next few weeks. Maybe that's when I'll show that I'll kind of sort of follow up anything more to add to this. But, I guess if you think about it within the scope of albums that have come out so far in 2022, Tears for Fears, The Tipping Point, obviously Cloud Cult's album Metamorphosis, the Marillion album Mauer Before It's Dark, the new Ty Tabor record, which I actually probably should talk about at some point soon as well, Shades. Some other records that I've listened to, Nordic Giants and what's the other one? The metal band that I've listened to like 1.5 times, Persephone. All those records I'm enjoying to varying degrees. Well, to pretty good degrees, but not. But I guess I would probably say this is probably, even though I'm still taking it in, which is kind of not really fair. I would maybe put this above everything at this point. With the calendar projection with some of these records like The Deer Hunter especially, and Small Leach Sink Ships, and the stuff in May with 0 Hour and the Family Crest, it's competition, I mean, I don't know. But if I was making my list right now today on St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, I think Team Me's Something the Making might be number 1. But it's just sort of like a co-number 1. I mean, Cloud Cult's album I'm still listening to some and still, enjoying a lot. So, but yeah, so I guess, have you ever heard of Team Me? If you like the band Mew, I mean, I've said this, it's like a broken record a million times, I feel like, with a lot of bands. Like if you like The Deer Hunter, or why don't you listen to Ben Sinister, or The Reign of Kindle. If you like the band Mew, Team Me are as good of a band to suggest. I mean, but I kind of fail to see the enthusiasm that I see from Mew, so it's weird for Mew fans. I don't know. If there was a real active social network, maybe the Discord channel, maybe there's a Mew fans or a friend, like the Mew X podcast has a Discord channel. There's some discussion because it just seems so obvious. I mean, the singer is not identical to Jonas Beer, but he's I think his name is Marius. I wish they would tell, because I'm trying to look this stuff up. Yeah, this is a little more extensive. Follow the team members, manipulation. Because it's like Uno Mahler, Bjorn Reinberg, Simon Sandberg Skari, Simon Shikulski, Elida Inman, and Marius. I think it's Marius. I should have said that way before this. Marius, I believe, is the lead singer. And I think a lot of his vocals are like 2, 3, 4 multi-tracked, a la Queen's Bohemian Rhapsody and so many other bands. But they sound so big, like the Polyphonic Spree, or there's a lot of the bands with great kind of multi-layered, big-sounding vocal harmonies, and that's one of the biggest elements to Team Me's sound. I'd say even more so than Mew, they emphasize that element. But his voice is in the vocal, the general vocal style you could say is somewhat similar to Jonas. But some people just don't believe it. It's like the people that don't like Anathema that are huge Porcupine Tree fans. It's like that was a no-brainer for me. It's like we didn't have Porcupine Tree, you had Anathema doing this record, this music that was kind of in a similar style. But I have friends that say, well, so what? The music does nothing for me. So I can understand it to a point. This is not Mew. They're not a Mew tribute or a Mew clone exactly. But to me, especially with Mew's kind of transition and even less prolific output the last decade and change. We've had 2 records, and the last record doesn't even have Bo. And it just, to me, I don't listen to as much. This band is kind of having their music out there, even though a lot of their records were a few years ago, has kind of compensated for lack of more Mew at this point for me. But in fact, I would love to see Mew like go on tour with Team Me. If Mew had a new record, it'd be nice to hear a Mew record and a Team Me record in the same year. So, but there's another new album that came out this last week because that album, Something to Make came out on March 11th. It's a live album from Major Parkinson, which I'll do a video on that maybe tomorrow. But yeah, and then the near future, as I mentioned earlier today, in the new releases is kind of it's a little more spotty for me for a few months until we get into May when a bunch of stuff's coming. So, but thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.